Guys, we're on our way to get those Awaken cards. This place right here is called Frank & Sons. If you're ever in Los Angeles and you're here on a Wednesday or a Saturday, you can go to this place and get all the cards that you need. Hey, you got freaking Boba Fett. Yeah. So this is what it looks like from the inside. Over there is a card shops. Well, actually, card shops are everywhere, but all these are all collectibles and shit. This is where I have to buy my cards at. And look at all these anime figures. Crazy. Damn, $150. Alright guys, we are back from the card shop from Frank & Sons, and we are here to talk about 4 more monsters from our Charmers deck. So I went to the card shop and I got 3 of these Gigabytes. I think that's how you pronounce it. They only ended up costing me $2 each. They're secret rare. I seen them for about 40 cents to about $1.50 in TCG Player, but it's expected to pay a little bit more when you're dealing with card shops, because no way they're going to sell me a secret rare for 40 cents. It's cheaper in TCG Player because you're paying shipping, and in this case you're not paying shipping, you're paying for convenience, so it's a little bit more expensive. So today we're going to be talking about the awakening of these 4 monsters right here. Now these are the awakening cards for our animal support. Now if you can see it. That's your Nefarious, your Gigabyte, Ranryu, and your Inari Fire. These are the awakenings of these monsters up here. Similar to Pokemon, these are like the evolution of these monsters, and the Charmers are the trainers. I'm not saying that Yu-Gi-Oh! Copied them or anything like that, but they're similar in that aspect. So we learned about these cards in the last video. So now we're gonna have to learn about the awakening of those cards right here. Now, I used to run 3 Nefariosers and 3 Ranryu and 2 of the Inari Fire. So I put the Gigabytes on my side deck. I put 2 of them in there. So now I'm running 2 of each in the deck to see how that plays out. Now, each monster is a level 5 monster. They can be tributed, but if you tribute them, you do not special summon them the way that they are meant to be summoned. And that is, these 4 monsters have the special ability of being special summoned from your deck. That is a very rare ability for you to summon monsters from the deck. Now, it does cost you 2 cards, and they're all similar. they could either be special summoned from the deck, or they can be special summoned from your hand. So even if you brick and you have that monster in your hand, you can special summon it from your hand. But I wouldn't do that. I would just keep the one in your hand and special summon the one from your deck, so you prevent yourself from bricking or pulling that card again. And you could always use it as a cost material for your Spirit Charmers, spell card. Okay, so to special summon these monsters, you're going to need 2 cards. One is a spellcaster. One is a spellcaster, and the other is a level 4 or lower monster with the same attribute as the card that you are summoning. For example, the way you summon them from your deck or from your hand, your choice, is to first have a spellcaster on the field. This is a spellcaster. And it works great with these monsters right here. What you can do is, if you have all these already summoned, send one spellcaster to the graveyard and one monster that is level 4 or lower that you control to the graveyard also. Now you can special summon from your deck this card right here, Awakening of the Possessed Razen Ryu. You see in the top it says, you can special summon this card from your hand or deck by sending one face-up spellcaster monster and one face-up level 4 or lower wind monster you control to the graveyard. Okay? So that's how you summon it. Now it's important to keep that in mind, because there's several ways you can summon it. One is you can tribute it, and then you can special summon it from your hand and grave. Why you would want to summon it from your hand or grave is to activate its top effect. These monsters all have 2 effects. One on the top and one on the bottom. The one on the bottom is a graveyard effect, so you don't have to worry about it. The one on top is a field effect, so it's very useful on the field. Alright, so what is Razen Ryu's field effect? When this card is special summoned by its effect, you can return one card your opponent controls to the hand. That is very important. Let's say your opponent has a card, right? That kind of bugs you or something. And you're in this scenario. You could try to destroy it by battle, but having these cards in your deck gives you options. Send a spellcaster and a Renryu to the graveyard, special summon from the deck this card, activate its effect, send this card return one card your opponent controls to the hand. This card now goes to their hand. So it being your turn, they don't have a monster on the field. Depending on how many monsters they have, you can choose whatever monster you like. Now, it says you can return one card your opponent controls to the hand. It does not necessarily limit you to a monster. It could be a continuous spell, a continuous trap card, or a field card. So you could send all any type of card that they control to their hand. So whatever card is bugging you, I would use a Resin Ryu for that. Now, all of the awakening monsters awaken similarly. One spellcaster and one level 4 element monster of the same element. So let's special summon the Awakening of Inari Fire. Spellcaster and Inari Fire go to the graveyard. Special summon from the deck or your hand one Awakening of Inari Fire. See, it just happens to be right here. Special summon. Now its top effect, its field effect, activates. So what is the effect? When this card is special summoned by its effect, you can inflict damage to your opponent equal to the original attack of one monster that they control, your choice. Let's say they have this card right here. Well, it's only 500 attack, so let's get a better card. You want to choose a card that they control that has the most attack and that can be targeted by a card effect. So let's say they control this monster. You can now burn them for 1850 attack. This is incredibly useful in a scenario where you cannot attack by battle. You could win the game just by inflicting damage with these fire monsters. So you burn them for 1850. That's the cool thing about this one right here. Next, we're going to special summon, which is my go-to, is the Awakening of the Nefarious Archfiend. I tend to awaken this one first because of its top effect. One spellcaster and one Nefarious Archfiend. You can pull if I could find it. The Awakening of the Nefarious Archfiend. This one is the only one that lets you pull back a monster that is a level 4 or lower from your graveyard, as long as you negate its effect. Which you really don't need its effects. So there you go. That one is the only one that can pull back a spellcaster, and you can use that effect twice in one turn. Now let's special summon Gigabyte from the deck. I know he's from in the top right here. Now we special summon this guy right here. And his top effect activates, and he has a pretty interesting one. When this card is special summoned by its effect, you can send one random card from your opponent's hand to the graveyard, then each player draws a card. So your opponent shows you their hand face down, and you choose one card, send it to the graveyard, and then you both draw a card. So you get an extra card, they lose a card, and then they kind of get one back. That's a cool effect of this one right here. It shortens the hand of your opponent, and it gives them less power next turn. Or it kind of it disrupts your opponent a little bit, and it gives you an extra card in your hand. This is useful if, let's say, you pull one of these monsters, then you can special summon, well, not this one, but this Nefarious, you could special summon that one if you pulled that one, because you could only control one of these at a time. Alright, so that's it for their top effect. Okay, so every single one of these monsters has 2 effects. And once they're on the field, regardless what happens to these monsters, as long as they go from the field to the graveyard, either by attack or by any means, as long as they were on the field first, their bottom effect activates, and that is a graveyard effect. So it don't matter if they are tributed, if they're destroyed by battle, whatever, as long as they're from the field to the graveyard, their bottom effect activates. And what's their bottom effect? They're all similar. It says, if this card is sent from the field to the graveyard, you can add 1 Spiritual Fire art card or 1 possessed spell or trap from your deck to your hand. Now, what's a Spiritual Art card? I put them in my deck just to show you this. Every Charmer has a Spiritual Art card. And this is the card that you can pull from your deck, or you can pull a possessed card. But this is a Spiritual Art card. For fire, it's this one. For wind, it's this one. For earth, it's this one. And for water, it's that one. How are these special? Basically, you tribute a monster that you control of the same effect. You could tribute this one. Let's say you face down. These are face down, and it's a fire. You tribute a fire, and you activate its effect. Tribute 1 fire monster. Inflict damage to your opponent equal to that monster's original attack. Now, this is useful for an ending. If you want to end your opponent, I use the fire art a lot. That's why I run 2 in the deck. I do not use the water or the earth, and I only have 1 of the wind. But for this purpose, these are the ones that you can pull from your deck, and they all have special abilities too. They're all different. Similar to what their awakening monsters do, these do it. This one burns. This one pops. See? Target 1 card your opponent controls. Place that opponent's card on the bottom of his deck. And so on and so forth. This one you can tribute 1 earth monster and target a level 4 lower earth monster from your graveyard, special summon it. And this one, tribute a water monster, look at your opponent's hand, then send 1 card from their hand to the graveyard. So these 2 are not so essential in my deck, but these 2 are very useful. More useful is the fire one, to end your opponent when you cannot attack directly. If you cannot attack directly, this is the way to go. This is your second option. So these awakening monsters are there for you to have options. And it's really up to you to activate it at the most optimal time so that you can basically control the scenarios of what your opponent has on the field. If they have too many cards on their hand, you can pop one with this one or with this one. They have one on the field that you're trying to get out, pop them with that one right there. If you want to burn them, like let's say they have a 3000 monster that 3000 attack monster and you cannot get over it, but it can be targeted, you can use its attack against it. Alright guys, aside from the spiritual art cards, you could also special summon these 3 cards right here. Possessed cards. Unpossessed, Possessed Partnership, and Awakening of the Possessed. And that is exactly what I use these cards for. To pull these cards from the deck. More importantly than the spiritual art cards. So when these go to the graveyard, once they're on the field, most likely I'm going to be looking for Awakening of the Possessed if I do not have one on the field already. Even if I have another one, I'm going to want to get Unpossessed second, and then Possessed Partnership third. And from there, more Awakening of the Possessed. Just to build up my monsters. So at the end of this video, I'm going to show you some combos, some crazy combos that you can do with these 4 cards right here. So let's get to it right now. Alright guys, for this super combo, you're going to want these 2 things in your possession. You're going to want to have already an Awakening of the Possessed on the field. And you're going to want a Spellcaster with 1850 attack in your graveyard. This is your hand right here. You have a Charmer. Charmers have a very low attack. And you have your supporting monsters. Now, this is what you want to do. Normal summon your Charmer. Then special summon your monsters. And that would allow you to go to Awakening monsters. Now you can special summon any Awakening monster that you have in your deck, because you have all 4 elements and you have 1 spellcaster. So what I tend to do in this scenario is to special summon the Nefariosos or whatever it's called first. So make sure you have one of these. If you have one of these in your field, you're going to do that. Send 1 spellcaster to your graveyard, 1 Nefarious to special summon. From your deck, when we can find it. Tell me it's all the way at the top. There it is. We're going to special summon it and activate its first effect, which will bring back a level 4 monster from your graveyard. Instead of selecting the Nefarious or the Charmer, we're going to choose the spellcaster with 1850 attack and special summon it, just to trigger Awakening of the Possessed. If you did not activate this in your turn already. The spellcaster monster with 1850 original attack is normal special summon to your field, draw a card. So that lets you draw a card. So we drew a card. Now we have 1 card in our hand. And we can continue. Next, we're going to special summon the Awakening of Renryu from the deck. And there it is right there. Now, you can pop one of your opponent's cards, send it to their hand. Let me see. This card special summon, you can return 1 card your opponent controls to the hand. Let's say they had a monster. Now you can send it to their hand. Okay. So, right now on the field, you have 4 different attributes. So this activates times 4. Monsters you control gain 300 attack for each different attribute you control. So that's 300 times 4, which is 1200. They all gain 1200 attack. Now, to boost that, because you don't always need that, what we're going to do is we're going to link summon a monster. And let's say we could use these 2. You could use any 2 monsters to link summon one of your charmers. But we're going to use these 2. Because this is the combo. We're going to link summon this card right here. Alsa, the Link Charmer, by sending 2 of these monsters, 2 effect monsters, 1 earth monster to the graveyard. Now that they are on the graveyard, this is, mind you, you're still in your first main phase. You can activate both of these effects. Now, it's up to you what you want to do. You have lots of options at this point. Me, personally, I would get one of these. I would get this Possess card. And then I would get 1 Possess Partnership. I will set this down and stack the attack. Now 600 times 3 is what? 600 times 3, that's 1800 attack. Every single monster gains 1800 attack. Just to give you an example, this now goes to 3300 attack. And this one goes to about, what? 3500 attack almost. So you just boosted up all your monsters. Now, we're going to obliterate, however you say it, your opponent by attacking with all these 3,000 monsters and just dynamite their field like crazy. Hopefully they don't respond to it. Almost OTKing them, probably taking more than half their life points in this one turn. And we're going to set this down and we're going to end our turn. Now, remember what I said in the other one. When your opponent sets their first card, they normal summon their first card, chain this card to that card. And special summon, try to find one with a different attribute if you can. If not, you're going to have to settle for one with 1800 attack. So we don't have another attribute, but pick one that has 1850 attack. So now in your opponent's turn, when you special summon this monster because of the possessed partnership, you can now draw a card on your turn, and now you have 2 cards. They're both bricks, but who cares? You're using the advantage of this to get that. So then it's your opponent's turn. You wait for the damage. If your opponent Regekis your field, these all die, except for these 2. So let's say you get Regeki. These 2 die, plus their graveyard effects activate, you could special summon from the deck. Say your opponent just Raigekki'd you. These two stay because they're both familiar and they cannot be destroyed by card effects. These two go to the graveyard. The Gigabyte special summons a monster with 200 defense, 1500 attack from your graveyard. We usually use Gigabyte to special summon this one. So now you can special summon this, and your opponent says end turn, and we can use this combo right here, and your opponent's end turn, destroy this one, send it to the graveyard, special summon Gigabyte, right? And it's your opponent's end phase. And now you have to wait for something. Your draw phase, you draw your card, another brick. And your standby phase, the Inari activates. So it says, once per turn during your next standby phase, after this face-up card on the field was destroyed by a card effect and sent to the graveyard, special summon it from the graveyard. You now have 5 monsters on the field, and it's your turn. And you have how many different attributes? 1, 2, 3, 4. You have 4 different attributes. What you can do is, if you want 1, 2, 3, 4, if you want 5 different attributes, you can tribute that one. Now you have 5 different attributes, and you have 600 attack. This one and this one, 600 attack for times 5. Wait, let me see. 1, 2, 3, 4 times 4. 600 times 4, each one of these gains 2400 attack. So this one would be at 3900 attack. And you could just obliterate, or whatever that word is, your opponent at this turn. You don't even have to go a third turn because you just won the duel. There's no way anybody can survive that. But let's say you're not satisfied. You still have a spellcaster. What you can do is you can special summon, if you want, from your... Let me see if I can find the Gigabyte though. Where did I put it? Special summon the Awakening of the Gigabyte. Now, whatever monster your opponent has that's annoying you, or whatever your opponent has in their hand, they show you their hand. You choose a card, send one to the graveyard, and you both draw a card. So you got another card in your hand. Triple brick, dude. But yeah, it does not matter if you brick at all, because by this point you already won the duel. No one can survive those massive attacks, especially when you have 4 different attributes. Each monster gains 2400 attack. Look at that. That's 3400, and that's the weakest one. This one's 4400. Imagine attacking with 4400. There you go. You win the duel. And that's the super combo. So thank you guys for watching. Next week we're gonna be talking about, or I'm not sure if it's next week, but in a few days we're going to be talking about the Magical Triangle, which is another engine for Charmers. And this would be the Magical Triangle. Would be these cards right here. Let me see. This is the magical triangle. These 3 cards are what I call the magical triangle. We're going to be talking about that in the next episode of your Charmers. We talked about 2 major engines in your Charmers deck if you choose to use it. A lot of people don't use this engine. A lot of people go with Dogmatika, they go with whatever. This is like a true Charmers deck. True Charmers Familiar Spellcaster deck. The way it was designed, it looked like they put a lot of thought into it. So I'm going with the optimal Charmers deck. So next we're going to be talking about in the other video about the magic triangle. And it's these 3 cards right here. So if you want to see that, stay tuned, subscribe. Don't forget to like, share, and leave your comments, because the comments help me out a lot. I know sometimes I misspeak and I say things that I'm not supposed to say, like I say deck or graveyard. I mix normal summon with special summon. Sometimes my words mix up. But you know what I mean. I have very smart people that watch this and they help me out, and I listen to a lot of the things that they say. So hopefully you enjoyed this video. It was a super long video, but it was worth it. And hopefully you learn how to use that engine. You play these Charmers, and even if these Charmers don't go to top 10 at Worlds, it's still an amazing deck, and it's crazy fun, and it's a crazy battle deck. So thank you guys for watching. I'll see you in another video.